hold on.
Zentian super chatted
Oh, hey Zentian, good to see you.
$199.99.
We're over
A clump of
this.
cells? A human being is a parasite? Being in healthcare and having witnessed the mass suffering and death of thousands, the only parasites I have seen are the vacuous, feculent, materialistic, all gaping maw that is the modern woman, just like this panel. Gents, focus on yourselves.
It's like, do they just open up like a thesaurus or like something and just like type in like one word, like anti-woman word, and then just keep like listing them?
That was poetic. That was one of the
Maybe
most-
that's why that guy's alone, because he doesn't like women.
Yeah, literally.
That's why he has enough
I feel like
time to
a lot of
watch
these
4-hour
men
podcasts.
Zentian,
Like that
let me
on there.
just
You're
say,
married though. Shouldn't you be like promoting women?
I think
he
I
is
think I've
promoting
been very
women.
pro women
Yeah,
this
he
whole
is
time.
promoting
I've
women.
said it's Michael and the girls against Brian here on
Yeah.
marriage and all the rest. But you don't want to just like simp and be like, oh girls, whatever you're doing is great. Like no, it's gross. It's so gross. Just
But
don't
why?
do
Okay,
that.
maybe there's like a certain extent where it's gross, but like she said, it's not black and white. There's like
It is black and white. Most things are fairly black and white. They're
know
way
they're
more black and white.
not.
than
No,
you think.
most things are not fairly
They
black
are.
and white. Most things are on a spectrum of things. Most things are like, is there an array? It's not just one or the other.
But if it's a spectrum, then the spectrum presumably would go from one extreme to the other. And if we're talking
That's why
about
we're
like
saying,
right
can't
and
there be a
wrong and
middle?
like beautiful and ugly and like good and bad, then the clear answers are on the extremes.
No. What, you think the extreme is the way to go for each thing?
No, we're saying right now you've got a spectrum, right, between like true and false, or good and bad, and
Okay, so like
beautiful
a
and ugly.
spectrum of sex, and there's different sex.
There's like the good, wholesome.
there's
That's
like
life.
waiting
also
for
assuming
marriage.
There's no
proof-
context, no life experience. Like saying just like there's true and false. Human behavior is so like has such a range and so many
Yes.
different people and like backgrounds and parenting. Like that goes into all that. There can't just be a right and wrong for everything, a black and white for everything.
There is though. There is.
Well,
I don't know why.
think
I
that-
don't know why
we
there
disagree.
can't be.
I mean, it's just the same thing with there should be a separation between
I
church
wanna-
and
but
state.
there shouldn't be. I mean,
and
there
I
isn't
don't
any.
agree with
Strictly,
that.
do you
So-
live strictly by Catholic law?
Yeah,
So do
I
you-
try to. I mean, I probably
But
fail
to-
all the time, but I try to.
So you
speaking
don't-
of Latin, Deus Vult?
Deus vult.
Deus-
Don't pronounce it. All the moderns want to do it the German way, but you got to do it like a good Italian.
How do you?
Deus vult.
It's with a V because I've heard it's pronounced with it's like a W.
Yeah, that's what all the like
Is that
modern
wrong?
weirdos say. Yeah, because if that's true, then Julius Caesar said "Weni Weedy Wiki," which is obviously
Oh, good
absurd.
point. Veni
Veni
Vidi
Vidi Vici, baby.
Oh,
Di
that sounds
Adamo.
better.
Yeah.
That sounds better. Okay, so Deus Vult.
Deus vult.
Can we get some Deus Vult in the chat, boys?
What does
I
it
want to
mean?
spam it.
I mean, it's God wills it. It was a chant during the
yeah.
Crusades.
So you were saying the Zentian's comment kind of interrupted what you were saying though. But so you were saying, I'm seeing this one guy, I'm hooking up with this one guy, but I'm also dating these other guys. You were in the middle of saying something. Do you recall what that was?
I think it was about the black and white. What
Oh.
we just got to.
Okay.
I guess I'll take my like sort of. I don't mean to sound like a church mom or anything, but I'm saying if you were all describing all these weird sexual behaviors, right? And you're saying there is a spectrum, and on this spectrum, let's go from the one end. It's the most trad, good, like wholesome thing where it's just you and your husband, and you've got this good life, right? And then on the other end, it's you with like 7 dudes and a chihuahua, and I don't know, like all this weird stuff going on, right? And so on that spectrum is actually just like good, normal, flourishing
What
behavior.
makes
For you?
normal?
For
Like,
you?
yeah,
No,
it's good.
for everybody, for all of human history
No.
until
So
like
you're
5 minutes
deciding
ago.
that?
No, I'm just looking at history, and I'm looking at also philosophy, and I'm looking at also
I feel like there's been a
anthropology.
lot of terrible things that have happened in history. So why are you looking back at history? I mean, for a long time, that's always been good, but now we have a different look on love. Personally, I don't think hookup culture is great, but a lot
Obviously.
of guys will not commit. So
Yeah,
You don't want
But can't
them.
you make them? Like, not to be.
no, because then you
Old-timey,
come off
but
as
why would
crazy,
they buy the
or you come
couch?
off as clingy, or you like. Do you know how many?
Hold on,
donated
hold on.
$200. These modern women on
Thank you,
panels
Dink.
hate it when someone says something is objectively wrong. Modern women hate accountability, especially when it comes to having consistent morals and ethics. Things are black and white. It's whether you decide to see it or not.
Sam, go ahead.
I think men also hate accountability because, like we
They hate
said,
it
we
more.
pulled out the stats. Men are leaving their kids, and that is the main problem with the world today. Thank you.
Well,
Dan.
there was something roughly. Okay, so let's say you're saying, okay, there were bad things in the past, and now not everything's perfect, but some things are better. But we're talking about the change that happened with women's lib, right? Basically, the modern feminist stuff, which says we're going to break up the family, we're going to easier divorce, women can go hook up, do whatever you want. And the thing that's weird about this is if you look at all the studies on all happiness surveys, which again, take it with a grain of salt, but it's all you've got on these sociological numbers. Since that all went into effect, the hookup culture and abortion and feminism and all the rest, women have become less happy. Everybody's become less happy, but women have become especially less happy, even relative to men. So wouldn't you have to look at that, at the last 70 years of feminism, and say,
how would
it
you
just
know
didn't
women
work.
are becoming less happy? Aren't men more likely to do suicide now than women? Like, aren't men mental health is more higher in men? So how are women becoming less happy?
Everybody is getting less happy, and there is a spike in suicides, especially among older white men, and drug overdoses as well. But if you measure happiness, which again is a very difficult thing to do, but you just take people's measures of happiness, both men and women have declined, but women have declined
Since
at
when?
a faster rate since the 70s.
Because we live on
Since
the internet,
feminism.
probably. Everything is so on the internet. I mean,
This is even
you
before
watch
the
the
internet, though.
TV, you think you're going to die.
I don't
Maybe
think
because
it's like, do we know it's directly caused because of feminism?
I mean, I think studies are all fake anyway, but if
Causation.
you look at all of these happiness surveys, such as they are, the big change that happened in the relations between men and women is the advent of feminism, and it made women completely miserable.
Probably because they became more eye-opened and realized, whoa, my life is shit when you do something
That's
about
exactly
it.
what happened. What they would do, in the New York radical women's groups, these happy women who had good husbands and families would show up happy, I'm not even joking, and they would go through these struggle sessions, and they would raise their consciousness, and they would leave miserable. And this happened again and again at these meetings, and that's what happened to the whole society over the last 60 years.
Wait, isn't this the same thing as
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, I feel like they were ignorant before. They opened their eyes from the Matrix or whatever the pill.
That's what the feminists say. But no, I think they actually were much better adjusted to reality before, and then they were told a bunch of lies by the feminists about their nature.
Before, when they weren't controlling their own lives and everything was dictated on their husband.
Before, when they believed that men and women are complementary and actually made for one another, and that actually we have responsibilities and obligations and not just entitlements to do whatever the hell we want. And then after they went to the struggle sessions with all the feminists, they were told a lie, which is that men and women are not complementary, but they're indiscernible, basically identical. Woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. And they were told a lie that they would be much more fulfilled, not working for the good of their husband and children, but instead going out and working for Mr. McGillicuddy, some guy who doesn't care about them at all, so they can work at a job at the widget factory.
That they don't need women, that women are like a fish, they can have many women, men are told the same exact thing.
Yeah, no, that unfortunately is a product of feminism that's affected men too, and it's just all a bunch of BS.
But I feel like that was before feminism. I feel before it was just hidden. Men could cheat on their wives so much more easily. No,
because we're allowed sex without marriage. That's why people don't want to marry anymore.
Bingo.
Okay,
Bingo,
I understand
baby.
hookup culture is a problem, but when there wasn't hookup culture, men were allowed and they had this freedom of being to cheat on their wives and to get away with it.
There were mores and even laws against adultery and fornication.
Yeah, but no one would care. You would just turn a blind eye. No one would.
Depends what you mean by no one. I mean, sure, men have been cats for all of human history.
But hold on just a
Alvin
sec,
Sam
guys.
super chatted $199.99. Girl in the middle, men abandoning his duty as father is one issue. But you're forgetting that it is the woman's fault for making a baby with him. Since you argue that women are the final decision makers of intercourse, women bear the responsibility of it. It's her fault.
So allow abortion.
No. Wait, it's her fault for him deciding to leave his kid.
How would
No.
stay for his
It's
kid?
the moment you decide to agree to sex and have sex with somebody, you have to accept the fact that you can have a baby with that man, just as you hooking up with somebody.
Yes, but
you can
it's
have
still
the baby
his
with him
fault for
anytime.
leaving. It's not.
He has to also accept the responsibility that he's
yeah,
having a kid as well.
So-
Isn't it a two-person thing? You said
No.
you're having the baby too.
It
Yeah,
is
it's
a
also, I
two-person
mean,
thing.
if you're really trad, like you think that men have a leadership responsibility, and so really you would blame the men even more. The same way that Eve eats the apple, right? The serpent goes up to Eve, says, "Eat the apple." Eve eats the apple, but it's still Adam's fault. It's not very feminist, but that's the way it goes in the book.
Well, I'm not religious.
it's-
so-
You're getting back to this religion
Yeah,
thing that
I'm
none of
not
us are going to
religious.
agree on.
I think it's fault of both men and women.
Yes,
I think
I
it's
think it's
just
both.
it's the way that our society is right now. I'm kind of
He
the
was
same
smart
age
enough
as
to eat
you,
the apple and
but
convince
like I have a
everyone.
sister that's 10 years younger, and I'm like horrified. I feel so bad for her,
Oh,
just
yeah.
because she's growing up in this world where, well, first of all, you grow up on the internet, and there's a lot of toxic things you see. then like the hookup culture doesn't help. Like,
I remember
so
thinking,
how do we solve this problem?
Well, you have to eliminate feminism, actually, because I remember thinking when I was in college, I thought the way the hookup culture worked, I thought these women had convinced themselves that they were empowered by sleeping with men.
Well, the definition of feminism changed.
Yeah, I think
there's different
feminism.
The feminism initially is there's different kind of equality. There's equality of a pay that should be allowed. There's nothing wrong against like paying the same amount of money to people performing the same kind of job on the same position.
Are we talking about the wage gap now? Wait, we're just all over the place.
That is part of a feminist. No, it is a league. There's different spectrums of feminism. The feminism we are talking about is the one who said that somebody has enslaved women and then somebody came in the 70s or 80s and sexually liberated them. So now we can sleep around and do whatever we want because it's going to make us happier.
Yeah, that's not
that
feminism
is a wrong
that I would call feminism. Like I'm for like I'm for gender roles. Like I don't want men to like I agree. I have my own gender role. Like I'm not gonna go fight in war, but I want to do my womanly duties, whatever it will be. But I also agree that we should support men and men should support women.
And you agree with gender roles too?
I agree with what she said at the end, but what about men supporting women
from post-Soviet countries? She's from Armenia, from Ukraine.